Hey, welcome back to the show. This is your podcast producer, Poki Huang. Today we have my friend, Ben LAUDE on. Ben is one of my good friends here in New York City, and it's been amazing to see him doing all this cool stuff, especially on YouTube. Ben is a classical pianist, educator, and the creator behind the viral sports style YouTube breakdown you've probably seen, and the epic Chopin podcast, 16 episodes, 30 plus hours, and millions of views. And now he is in Warsaw hosting segments of the International Piano Competition. In this episode, Ben shares how he turned performance and teaching into creative media career, the origin story of Chopin Podcast, and his brand new Opus Index, a searchable, time-stamped way to jump straight to commentary on any Chopin piece while you follow the competition. We dig into practical, tangible strategies, how to tell smarter stories without dumbing things down, how to build community and income streams, and setting healthier rhythms to avoid burnout. He even leaves us with one simple habit every artist can start today: write more, read more. It's packed with insights, so if you're driving, plan to listen back and take notes. And because reviews help more musicians find the show, leave us a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform, screenshot it, and DM it to us on Instagram. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show.
Hi there, and welcome to the Fearless Artist Podcast, where we empower classical musicians to build their own thriving careers. I'm your host, Michelle Lin, and together with Deanna Petre, we teach artists to conquer the entrepreneurial side of their careers and create the futures they want.
We are two freelance classical musicians who have lived and worked in Europe for a decade, and together we started the Fearless Artist Mastermind, a coaching company created to teach classical musicians how to overcome fear and take action on building their dream careers.
In each episode, we will explore the intersection of artistry and entrepreneurship, teaching you the fearless mindset with practical steps and strategies to build a sustainable career.
Get ready to build your own artistic brand, find a supportive community of musicians so that you don't have to figure out everything alone, and earn a living that you deserve.
We believe that you can be a thriving artist and not a starving one, and we are redefining what it means to be a classical musician in the modern era. Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm super happy to have Ben LAUDE on. Ben, welcome to the show and thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Michelle.
So we got in touch through Poki, our podcast producer, and he was like, you've got to have Ben. Ben has so many cool things to tell you about. He's got all these different projects. He's a pianist. We love pianists. Poki has his own podcast now about him. And I don't know if you know Walter. They just like sit around and they talk about...
How I know Poki's because of Walter.
Oh, really?
I met Walter at a piano camp in
fun.
2006.
Okay.
Yeah.
I missed that part of the story. Anyway, I love their podcast because they just sit around and talk about nothing. And it's actually so interesting.
Some of the best podcasts have no point.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Because you get to learn a little bit more about how they think. So anyway, I think that's what we want our listeners to have from you today, because you are not only an accomplished pianist, but you have a ton of other cool projects that you've built into your career. So I would love for you if you could introduce yourself to our audience and we'll go from there.
Well, I'm Ben. I'm a classical pianist and music teacher, first and foremost, and it's turned into a career of content creation in various ways. So I have a YouTube channel, and yeah, I suppose I podcast some, but it's just an excuse to make more YouTube videos. And
Oh, yeah.
I worked for a company called Tonebase for several years, and we made a bunch of piano videos, and that company is expanding and doing its thing. And I'm trying to go it alone now, and I've kind of started my own content creation business, and partnering with different arts organizations in the classical music space, running my own channel, being my own boss, and trying to see where that takes me. So yeah, I suppose I'm an entrepreneur. Does that count?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
you're definitely an entrepreneur.
Cool.
How's your boss? Is he a nice guy?
Me? Yeah, not really. I'm really
No?
exploitative to myself.
Okay.
You mean my former boss?
No, you said you're being your own boss. So how is he?
He's not good. He overworks me.
Yeah.
He overassigns me things because he's overly optimistic about how long it takes to get things done. I mean, it's actually some kind of pathology, I think, that he has. So I have meetings with him a lot inside of my head.
Sure.
And they always end up with grand ideas that are supposed to be executed on really short time spans, and it never works out. But then we just keep chasing the tail and doing it again. So
Yeah, because you have executed quite a bit. I mean, you have I think, how many channels do you have right now? I know you have the Chopin project.
yeah, so I mean, the main channel is YouTube, but there's multiple projects kind of going at once. The Chopin project is the Chopin podcast is kind of in its culminating phase, and I just had to quit my Slack, which I feel like is relevant because I was being bugged by
By your boss?
my coworkers who I've just hired to help me actually kind of bring this whole Chopin podcast to its denouement. So the Chopin competition is in October. I'm not
Yes.
sure when this is airing. So I'll
Probably in October, actually. So this month.
Okay, so I'll speak in
yeah.
the present tense. Check me out right now. I'm in Warsaw hosting the International Chopin competition on their channel, Chopin Institute's channel. I'm one of the
Cool.
studio hosts. And that came about because I did all this Chopin podcasting. But through this 16-part, 30-something hour series that I've edited more or less all by myself, both video and audio formats, with dozens of guests. The main star is Garrick Olson, the great concert pianist and Chopin player. Through it all, I realized I created this big library of like Chopin knowledge in video form, in multimedia form, and it needed a reference tool. So I have some people helping me just generate the transcripts, proofread them, and a web developer who's built an app so that you can go to the Chopin podcast and look up any given Chopin piece during this competition. And rather than just a block of text, you'll be directed to that time-stamped moment in the podcast
smart.
and have Garrick Olson, sort of demonstrate this piece and show you what's interesting about it. So, and also many secondary references from the podcast because I had other guests talking about all the same pieces. So I've thought I would grow sick of Chopin by this point, but not quite. Although I am looking forward to moving beyond Chopin and, returning to some other composers I love and future content projects.
So just for everyone listening, the Chopin podcast, you said 30 hours of content. I just found it on Spotify. I actually didn't realize it was also video, so I'm going to go check all that out. Where did this come from? The idea for this sparked with?
So it started with me getting an email from one Barbara Muse, who's the director of the Chopin Foundation of the United States. And she was looking for somebody to host the U.S. National Chopin competition, which took place in January.
In Miami, right?
In Miami. She reached out to me about a year and a half ago. So it's like late spring 2024. I had just kind of left Tonebase and started my own channel. And I'd also, one of my last videos for the Tonebase YouTube channel, which I had sort of built up and grown before I decided to do my own, basically do that, my own version of that. One of the last videos I produced was called I Snuck into Juilliard to Interrogate Pianists in Their Practice Rooms. And this was a very popular video, and of course I staged it, but I made it seem like I'm just banging on the doors of random pianists and asking them how they're practicing, and then I edited it, and with the score, and like if they ever talk about a certain passage, I'll sort of show the details. And it was a very fun video. And Barbara saw this video and was like, I know a lot of those young musicians because they're involved in the Chopin competition and blah, blah, blah. Who's this Ben guy? He should be our host. So she reached out, and I was in entrepreneur phase, mental space. Well, I don't call it entrepreneur. I just call it desperate hustling. But anyway, I was on my own. And no, I was just like, I need opportunities. So if somebody invites me to be their host of their competition, which will have live streams on their YouTube channel, and their YouTube channel is relatively small, my immediate response to them is, that's great, but I would like to help you build your channel and build, some kind of hype around this competition so that more people will actually tune in, and you don't just expect people to tune in. And so I pitched back to her this idea of, well, why don't I make a series around Chopin's works, and you can sponsor it, and I will put it on my channel, which I'm growing, And it can be a podcast. It'll have audio versions that we'll put on Spotify, Apple, all those platforms. And I'll also edit videos for every single moment of those interviews and scripted segments that I put together. And so I started on this, and it was supposed to take 4 months and be done before January 2025. So it was supposed to be in the fall of 2024, and launched it about a year ago. And here I am still doing it because it just kept growing. I was going to make one 1 hour episode per genre. And there's about 12 Chopin genres, so like preludes, nocturnes, ballades, scherzos, waltzes. These are the genres. There's about a dozen of them. I was like, okay, 3 months, 1 hour podcast a week. We'll be done by Christmas. And already the first episode was an hour and a half. By the second episode, I'm getting into 2+ hour territory because I kept inviting more guests to be on these episodes. Besides Garrick Olson, there's lots of great concert pianists, scholars, and it just got really involved, and everyone was saying yes, and I couldn't say no. And I had meetings with myself, and I wasn't saying no to myself. So I just I found out that it's very easy to move your deadlines back when you're your own boss, and that's been both a blessing and a curse. And I didn't sleep at all for most of the fall of 2024 producing this thing, but it culminated in the Miami event, which ended up being in the middle of the series. It was supposed to be at the end of the series, but it still worked out because that attracted something like 300,000 live stream viewers, not unique viewers, but still 300,000 views in 1 week. And I think their previous competition had something in the low thousands. I mean, it
Wow.
just completely blew it out of the water, and everyone was like, yeah, we're here because of the Chopin podcast. So that concept worked. And
Wow.
Barbara was very pleased. And
I'm sure she was.
while I was there, the spokesperson for the Chopin Institute in Warsaw, the epicenter, Chopin headquarters, was there in Miami, and he met me in a hotel and invited me to basically do the equivalent in Warsaw, although I'll have less control. I mean, in Miami, I was like the producer, the host before, in between, and after every single round, and I was running around with a headset, grabbing pianists, interviewing them. In Warsaw, I'll be just one host among multiple hosts for specific studio sessions during the sort of intermission of some of the breaks, or if I'm speaking in present tense right now, you can see me doing that there. But in any case, it was a big opportunity. It came about because of all this hustling. And once that all took place, I decided to extend the series and have it wrap up on the eve of the International Chopin competition. So I just finished, past tense, although in my reality right now, I am finishing the final episodes of the podcast. And if it was just audio, I actually would have finished by Christmas maybe, but it was video too. And I masochistically love video editing, which is actually a very tedious thing. And I love making it really fun to watch and stuff. And this has been, again, something that's really helped my career, but not something I've solved in terms of how to sustain a life doing these things. So I'm hoping this is all setting me up for something that can be more stable moving forward. But it's been a fun ride. So
That's amazing that you have this, this passion for video editing, interviewing, Chopin's music, and then somehow all of that together has led to this massive project, this huge success, 300,000 views. If someone told you, the Warsaw thing is coming, could you have imagined that it would lead to something this big?
Kind of, only because I'm obsessive and I had some success at Tone Bass. But
Okay.
so I had in the back of my mind, it was possible I would end up in Warsaw after doing all this. I'm somewhat ambitious, but I just try to kind of be down to earth about it. So when I embarked on all this, there is part of me that's thinking where this could lead, where it could end up. And so I'm not like, in all modesty, I'm aware that I was aware ahead of time that this could work. Otherwise I wouldn't have done it,
Yeah, but it's good
So
to
I
have a
had
vision.
some confidence in myself, and I did have a vision, and that's what gave me the energy to do it. It was like, I know this can work, It wasn't like, let's try something out and see if people care. And I was just like, if I do this, and part of it was should probably talk about tone bass. Just I had the benefit of meeting a lot of great pianists and getting experience YouTubing and creating content and creating videos in different formats at this company. And so I was able to kind of partly ride the wave that I'd already helped sort of create there. And I just
Because you
took it
built
in
their
a new
YouTube channel to
direction.
the first
Yeah,
100,000, right? Yeah.
yeah. And by the way, the live streams of that Miami competition were whatever number I said, something in the hundreds of thousands. But the podcast, which again, it's very long, so these numbers are relative to the length of it too. But every episode is, averages about 2 hours. They've been longer of late, but that means for the videos, I was like, no one watches a 2 hour YouTube video, but they do watch 25 minutes, sometimes half-hour long YouTube videos. So I just split up those long, Spotify podcasts into segments for their video versions. Each of those gets, an average of a few tens of thousands. Some have gotten over 100,000, and there's like 60, 70 of these little segments by now, because it's like 16 episode times 4, 3 or 4. So those have gotten over 2 million views, and the podcast downloads are over 100,000 now. So people are into it. And there's some part of me that's like, yeah, but there's still more people out there who could be, so I do have a kind of part of me that always wants to just find as many people as I can to just share this music with.
It's amazing. Why do you think it worked? And how did you get the word about the podcast out in advance before this Miami competition that you said that their live stream views were so much higher because of the podcast? What was the flame on the fire?
I had my channel sort of growing video by video. That started January or February 2024. So I had just left Tone Bass. People knew me from the Tone Bass channel. And I thought, okay, I'll sort of finish a series I had been doing on Tone Bass on my channel about this pianist, Yun-Chan Lim, Van Cliburn winner. So I kind of strategically started with him because I kind of knew the algorithm would pick me up. And it did. So the first video did well. And I had a couple other videos in mind that I just had a good feeling about. And I developed these instincts from trial and error at Tone Bass. I mean, I started there, and my main job was to create basically lesson content, but also interview content with great pianists for their streaming platform. And for that, I would help to organize, production crew, videographers and crews, and I would sort of produce and direct these, sometimes, show up in the interviews, help the artists with lesson plans if they needed them, things like that. And that would all go behind a paywall, but we would release different kinds of things on social media. The marketing team, I would help them with that. But, it was kind of always in our minds from the start of Tone Bass, which the piano platform started in 2019. We were like, we got to do something with YouTube. We're a high quality video creation platform. So we started by just kind of releasing shorter clips from the long form content. And that never does that well, actually, because it's not content that's made for YouTube. It's not like for you, the audience. It's always like, hey, go pay for our longer version of this. So even some of them were okay, but it wasn't until I started consciously editing for YouTube that anybody started watching. It's just like they could feel that it was different.
Yeah.
And
it's like not repurposed or something.
Yeah, exactly. And so I started, and I kind of always knew, it might work best if I eventually start hosting these and being a mediator between the music or the artists that I'm talking to or the music I'm talking about and the audience, and just providing that kind of inviting, fun kind of vibe to, I don't know, get people to come in the door and experience this. Some of them, it started working, and it really took off after the Cliburn in 2022 when I made this video about Yun-Chan Lim, where I got just almost like a sports analyst. I analyze his performance. I pause the video, I break it down, zoom in on things and highlight the score, compare him to, and everyone was just already kind of obsessed with him. And that video was something that, countless people in the comments were saying they had watched 10 times because they were so obsessed with his performance. And then here's somebody helping them understand what's so great about it. And then it made them go back and listen with even more perspective. And so people were so thankful, and I still get approached by people or messages from people who say it was that video or those videos about Yunchun and his Clyburn performances that first, made people really want to follow my channel. And I've done a lot of other kinds of videos since then, but that really put me in a position where I felt comfortable doing that. And it was kind of in my head for a while before I ever got the courage to just be like, I might make a fool of myself. I feel a little bit like an idiot doing this, but I am going to sit in my bedroom and just record myself animatedly talking about this piano concerto performance. And all the way up until when I pressed upload, I was like, this might be a total bust of a video and flop. But it didn't. And people were like really excited to see somebody so excited about music talking about it like
exactly.
I was, so that I'm glad I had, I guess, it's Fearless podcast, right? So that was me being fearless. I think I was thinking I was being stupid, but some part of me was like, just do it, just see what happens, and none of this Chopin podcasting, none of my own channel and the other collaborations that I've been lucky enough to be part of recently would have ever happened if I didn't just go for it. So
Hey everybody, real quick, I just want to say that if you are struggling to post on Instagram, first of all, you are not alone. Most musicians are sitting there scrolling and not knowing what they would actually post about. Second of all, if that's you, then I have a free gift for you. It is our free guide, 10 golden rules to posting on Instagram as a classical musician. If you follow these 10 rules, you will grow, you will get more followers, you will get more views, you will know what hashtags to use, you will write captions that are interesting, and you will build an audience. And guess what a bigger audience gives you? More concerts. That's right, everybody. So all you need to do is DM us on Instagram at the Fearless Artist Mastermind. Just write golden and we will send you our free guide. Hope you love it and thanks for listening. So the difference between this video was you really inserting yourself as a sports commentator, as you're saying, and like analyzing the score, showing people what to listen for. You're kind of, you introduce yourself today as a music educator. So in this sense, you're really educating like tens and thousands of people about active listening, which is something that is really missing from people today. We don't get in the school system growing up. How do you view your role as educating, maybe bringing people to concerts, bringing them to the podcast? You are singularly responsible for hundreds of thousands of people of discovering this.
thank you. I think it traces back to my own insecurities about loving classical music in high school, being somebody who, for I'm not necessarily proud of this, but I was conscious of not being popular in high school. And maybe if anybody was my friend, it was because I was the kid who sort of said sarcastic things in class and they thought that was funny. But I was quite shy and I played the piano, but I was on sports teams. So I kind of had, I had like my foot in these different social worlds. And I did look up to the bros. It's just like, why do people like them more than other, I don't know. But also like they make fun of me for playing piano. So it was very weird. I should have just been like, screw you guys. I'm going to go hang out with my own friends over here. And I totally, those people would become my friends, the ones who are like, we're not hanging out with the popular kids. These jocks, they can, anyway. So this is me just psychoanalyzing myself. I think at the time I noticed that I had this private obsession with music and I didn't know anybody else who liked it, classical music. And like literally I would like drive to high school listening to Rachmaninoff's Second Piano Concerto or something. And then when I would get to the parking lot, I would like turn it to, classic rock or something, which I also liked, but I didn't want to be seen or known as or made fun of for this private thing. And so, long story short, I'm like, it'd be nice if I could have just rolled my windows down and kept that Rachmaninoff like blaring and had the basketball team come up and be like, yo, is that Horowitz? Whatever. But that's not the way the world works. So I think on some level, I'm like, I never wanted to teach or preach to the choir. I never wanted to just share my enthusiasm with, my other friends who are already initiated and people like them. I wanted to get people who didn't care about classical music or know that it was beautiful or think that it might be actually interesting and cool to learn more about, I want to get them over here, you know. And so I wanted to make videos that could potentially appeal to totally uninitiated types. And partly just the fact that I had the sports background and I've always followed sports, it's been, I suppose it's a guilty pleasure. I'm not very guilty about it though. Like, I'm not ashamed. Like many of my peers are in the classical music world. You watch football? You know, how could you? You know, that's so vulgar.
Right.
And but I noticed that sports media, to a fault, to an extreme, is analyzing everything that's going on in these games, what athletes are doing. You know, there's opinion, there's analysis, whole range. You know, and the classical music world has a much richer culture and history, and yet seemingly no media. I shouldn't say that. There's just very little media, and on almost no media that bears any resemblance to this kind of engaging style in which you don't dumb things down for people. You analyze and highlight what's going on in the X's and O's of a football game, or in the defensive formation in basketball, or what a pitcher and a catcher are, how they're communicating in a baseball game. Actually, I noticed there's a YouTuber called John Boy who makes these baseball videos, and he analyzes moments from baseball games that are really interesting for reasons that aren't readily apparent, and he shows through multiple camera angles exactly what happens, and he'll even show like audience reaction and stuff like that. And when I was making the Yunchun video, I was consciously modeling certain moments after John Boy videos where he'll zoom into the crowd and notice that this person is reacting this way, and you know, the person next to him didn't even see what was going on. You know, it was just it's funny, and also just adds to the viewer's interest. So at the beginning of the Yunchun video, I point out that the orchestra, who usually is kind of like, after concerto ends, they're like, yay, whatever. They're just like, a cellist is putting their bow down and like clapping over their head. They're going crazy for him. So I noticed that in the video, as if I was reviewing sports tape. And in this YouTube style, John Boy style in particular, I was zooming in and also just commenting on the whole experience, you know, of being at this like kind of remarkable event, this musical event. But also, you know, going into the music, going into how he played and what kinds of decisions he made. And so my thought was, why do we need to avoid being specific about about what we do in as classical musicians, the kind of things we talk about in studio class and conservatory? There's a thought that's gonna alienate people. And I was like, actually, I find that YouTube's a good medium for taking very highly specialized areas of knowledge, whether it's chess or science or even sports nerddom. There's a whole world of being too analytic about sports. All these areas, it's just like a perfect medium for casually inviting people into the really particular niche world. And it can be both niche, but also you can popularize niche worlds with the right kinds of formats. And so I was excited that, and I'm still excited and trying to do more and more, you know, basically on that initial premise. And it's been working to some extent, because people are literally in the comments saying, I didn't even know what a Rachmaninoff was, or I never cared about classical music. But for some reason, they say, and I've got these filed somewhere, I couldn't stop watching this video. And it's like, that's my favorite comment, because it's me getting those people in high school who didn't care about what I was doing and, you know, in my piano lessons, to come over and actually pay attention. So yeah, that's really what drives me, I think.
This is amazing. There's so much to unpack here. I love this baseball analogy, because specifically what you said, not dumbing it down. So there's a way to bring people into our world of classical elite knowledge, education, the rich culture that you mentioned, and make it accessible to them. And you've done that through this narration, talking to them, explaining things, showing things that they might have missed, the reaction in the orchestra. Here's what to pay attention to. It's kind of like when you go to the museum, you get the audio guide because it tells you what to look for. So now you're doing that in a way that everyone's on YouTube. They can get excited about it. Your passion is contagious. This is like, it's like the biggest hole in the market. You've figured out how to, like, we need to go get the people and bring them to the classical music world instead of saying, like, oh, classical music is dying. It's like, no, they just don't know what to listen or look for. So there's a way to go reach them where they're at. And some people have used social media for that, but the argument is usually, as you said previously, dumbing it down, or the content doesn't quite fit because you actually just want them to go watch the full video. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of our colleagues too don't want to post on Instagram because they're like, oh, well, the sound is awful on Instagram. I can't let my playing be heard because it doesn't sound like me and all this stuff. And so we're trying to wrap our minds around how can you then bring an audience in or build an audience? And it sounds like, I mean, this is the perfect hole in the market.
Yeah, and I don't even know if dumbing it down is exactly the right way to put it, because I see a lot of strategies in classical music publicity world, which they're not dumbing it down. They're not dumbing anything down, but it's just that I think the techniques for reaching people, there's a lot of traditional techniques that haven't proven to reach people beyond just the traditional boundaries, if that makes sense. So, I've gotten to know some of these publicists, through working at Tonebase and since, and they're interested in my work precisely because I seem to be able to help grow potentially the audience rather than what they're usually forced with, which is, let's try to get all the people who are already the types who might come to a concert to come to this next one. So they're focused on a market that they already see as existing and being yay big, And my thought is like, yeah, why isn't it bigger? Just like, let's try to open it up more. So, but you do need both. You need both. I mean, you need to be focusing on getting the turnout among those who already love classical music. But that's the thing about the stuff I make. Those people still like it too. It's not just for the uninitiated. I have a lot of my peers and my mentors, people who are in older generations, great teachers, performers. I've been lucky enough to work with some of them, or they'll reach out to me and they'll say they follow my stuff, they really like it. So that's where not compromising on the technical side of things, but rather making what's technical about what we do, showing what's interesting about it and what is relatable in it. And I don't think we classical musicians should think that we're rocket scientists of some kind. It's like there's technical terms and we do something very specialized, but it's very human and emotional, and the things that are technical are kind of fun to teach people about, and they don't take that long to get someone to grasp them if you want to teach a technical concept. Also, rocket science is taught on YouTube videos in a very popular way, so why can't classical music be as well? So sorry, I can't remember what your question was, but
No, I was just commenting on how you're keeping the intelligence of what we do, what we talk about in studio class, and yet making it accessible in opposition to what some people argue social media is. We have to make it something that everyone can understand, but you're not doing that. You're keeping the integrity. And it sounds like, I'm getting flashbacks to undergrad. We would meet once a week and go nerd out about a certain interpretation and talk through it as the pianists of the studio. You're basically doing that in an expanded version where people can come in and be like, oh, what's this world? This is weird and interesting. And maybe they want to stick around.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the example I give is chess. Although I'm currently not in a chess phase, I kind of go in and out of I'm horrible at chess. I probably have a negative rating if I got on chess.com and, I would immediately checkmate myself somehow. And yet, for a period of time of multiple years after Queen's Gambit came on, actually, in 2020, but after that show, and I had already been interested in it, there was a big, especially during COVID, there was a big surge of chess content and chess streamers and this type, and chess commentators on YouTube who were like breaking down, games between grandmasters, a level I could never achieve, who know different lines and openings and middle game strategies that I could never even grasp, and the technical terms of which still fly over my head. And I'm sitting there in awe that there are grandmasters who have this knowledge somehow to through some combination of experience and study and instinct, know that this move is somehow going to affect this entire game. It's just a beautiful thing. And yeah, it was definitely like YouTubers like showing that in engaging ways. There's one very famous one, Gotham Chess. I mean, Levy basically calls a chess game like it's a boxing match, you know? So again, sports analogy. Now, chess is sort of a sport. Magnus Carlsen calls it a sport. And so it's a little different with classical music. And I'm still always thinking about this. I'm like, okay, yes, there's competitions, but people also hate competitions. No one's directly competing. It's sort of more like ice skating or gymnastics, but even there are specific technical criteria that the judges are, you know, judging you on. So it's a little bit more objective. But nevertheless, these are extreme events that we participate in when we do live performances, especially when they're memorized and there's high stakes, and took years to get to this point. So there's a lot of parallels with the worlds of other, you know, high performance elite domains, whether it's chess or athletics and gymnastics of different kinds. So yeah, I think I do it my way, but I think there's a whole universe of media yet to be created about music, about classical music, about music in general, for those who like music, which tends to be everybody. I don't know if you noticed, there's very few people who are like, yeah, I don't like music.
Right.
So,
Right.
and if they like music, then I think they could like classical music. Why not? You know.
Are you
so.
seeing anyone else take this approach of the kind of sports commentator, live hosting, getting people involved?
I definitely am not the first piano YouTuber, and I should shout out to somebody who definitely influenced me, Nare Soul. She's got a great YouTube channel.
She went to school with Deanna, yeah.
Yeah, and I actually knew her at Juilliard as well, and she it was just so funny because I have a memory of her playing in a performance class, and you know, she was kind of reserved and unassuming, and I never would have thought, you know, she's gonna have a, you know, huge YouTube channel one day and be reaching millions of people creating. But she's somebody who is, I think, probably more introverted, but found a way to express herself in her own skin, in her own authentic personality. And she did a lot before me, certainly, that I was taking note of and studying her techniques. But, you know, she did a lot of these videos where she would show pretty quickly and in a very engaging way the aspects of different composers' styles, and then have annotations with, you know, colorful adjectives describing the techniques that she was using to sort of make something sound like it's Chopin. So maybe it's Happy Birthday and you're playing it in the style of different composers. That's one of her famous videos. And it's not saying, oh, you're using this ninth chord, and you know, it's not using like technical music theory terms, but colorfully describing what are essentially improvisatory keyboard harmony techniques and compositional techniques that are characteristic of certain composers. So she's doing that on YouTube and getting lots of views. And, you know, her channel is still way bigger than mine probably ever will be. And she was in that, I would say, that sort of golden age era of late 2010s YouTubing, when finally people were starting to create this kind of thing. And she was one of the first on the scene, I think, to really do it in a colorful, creative way about the piano. And she's also a composer, improviser, is interested in other genres. And so she does a lot of those kinds of things. And also not just piano, she's into lots of different kinds of classical music. So, and I am too, but I've mostly restricted myself to the piano. And, you know, building my niche through that. Luckily, the piano is kind of the universal instrument, or it's the instrument that's able to stand for or have all other instruments be transcribed onto it. So it's not a bad instrument to be part of. It's also a multi-genre instrument. So if I did want to collaborate and kind of cross genre, or find people where I could maybe make a video sharing my knowledge with them, what I know, and they share from their, you know, it's like piano is kind of the place. It's a nice playground, I think, to meet different musicians and music lovers of different types across genre too. So, yeah, I play the right instrument. No, but yeah. So I'm definitely, I didn't start this. I think I brought some of my own techniques to it, and I am, from what I can tell in meetings with my boss in my head, I'm obsessive about it, and so I think that's made me just produce a huge volume of this stuff. But again, I have my interests and my ways of doing it and my things I want to try out. And there's just so many, I think, in routes. And I don't, I see some other channels popping up and they're cool. And I just want, there should be more of them. And I hope those succeed, because there's just not a big enough ecosystem yet to really say that there's a network of classical music or classical piano media. It's still independent creators trying things out, and I've been lucky and fortunate to be doing that for piano and getting some attention for it. So
that's amazing. So what are you looking forward to the most in Warsaw, and how is this going to help continue to grow this world that you've created?
Well, this is where I can share some of my entrepreneurial secrets. No.
Ooh. You heard it here first, everyone.
Yes.
The Fearless Artist Podcast from
Well,
Ben
it's very
Laude.
specific to my project, so I don't know how they'll translate to anybody, but you can get a sense for my thinking. And I hate to use the word capitalize, but it is sort of what I'm doing, and so I'm not going to hide from the term, but I'm going to try to capitalize, right? Make the most for my career.
Take advantage, yes.
Take advantage of the opportunity that I was given when I was invited there. And considering that this whole Chopin podcast is, I don't mind using that term, by the way, because I've worked so hard on this stuff I've been doing, and I put so much time and effort into it without any compensation. Capitalize isn't even the right word. It's me trying to finally pay myself back for all the work I've done.
And we believe that musicians deserve a good living, so we're okay with talking about money too.
And so I do have a Patreon. When I was at the Clyburn earlier this year, where I was invited just to kind of be there to cover the competition. I wasn't working as a partners with them, but I was media. I produced public coverage for my channel for free, but I also did daily recap videos of every single note I heard sitting in that hall in Fort Worth for Patreon subscribers. And then I, posted on my social media, hey, come watch my detailed breakdowns if you're following the Clyburn. And guess what? A lot of people were following it. They wanted to, they didn't see anybody else with a kind of sports highlight commentary and analysis, video at the end of every day of the Clyburn. So I was the only one doing it. And so no competition there. Lots of people signed up, and I was able to sort of expand my community that way.
Amazing.
And of course, then it's like, okay, well, now the competition's over. I have to keep, I have to retain viewers. So there was some drop off, but also I never went down. I've just kind of stayed steady since then, which means everything else I've been producing through the podcast and various sort of bonus content and other things that I make available to my Patreon subscribers has been, they're great. We have conversations inside that community, and I want that to grow even more. So part of the thought is I'll go to Poland, and even though I'm officially hosting some, I'll have time, and I'm going to make extra content commenting on the competition, some behind the scenes video interviews with competitors, maybe jury. There'll be a lot of special people there. And so I'll just make some stuff that's behind the paywall, and then I'll have a lot of visibility from being, again, maybe this is precedence. Hopefully you are watching me, please watch. And then, it's on YouTube, Chopin Institute channel, but I'm also on YouTube. The algorithm's not stupid. It will be promoting anything I post on my channel during that time. And so all the many hundreds of thousands of people around the world attending the Chopin competition live streams should have recommended right next to them something Ben Laude posts about that competition, especially because I'm a part of it. And so the algorithm should promote that. I'm aware that mechanism is there. And so I want to take advantage of that. And I have a sort of lineup of both public and then paywall Patreon videos that I want to come out with. I might even do live streams just for my channel after each round with different guests commenting on the results, things like that. Again, it's a little bit like Olympic coverage of the Olympics.
Yeah.
And okay, Medici's there. They're actually covering the finals. And they even reached out to me and they're like, can you make little videos for our channel in which you're doing
amazing.
your thing? Yeah. So I'm like, I hope maybe that can even continue, because, well, here I am talking publicly about this. I don't know if this would ever materialize, but they already have this infrastructure, and, to and they're already doing it a little bit, but like they could go even further in terms of they're already covering competitions and classical music events. How about that extra analysis, after show, right? The sort
Yes.
of what sports does so well, so stupid. I mean, the Super Bowl is literally 2 straight weeks of just pregame show. It's like a
Yes.
2-week long pregame show. Classical music has like pre-concert lectures, I guess. Well, let's make them engaging video versions of those things, like for big events. So anyway, so experimenting while I'm in Poland with this. And then, I built out this resource that I was mentioning at the very beginning of the podcast so that people following the competition can also look up through what we're calling the Opus Index on the Chopin podcast. Oh, someone's playing a nocturne, B major nocturne. I don't know that one. Go to the Opus Index, type it in. Boom. You have Garrick Olson talking and demonstrating beautifully and eloquently for 8 minutes. So it's like kind of a fun companion resource to have, split screen with the Chopin competition as you're following it.
That's amazing.
And also merch.
It's kind of like Tone Base on steroids, right? Oh, you have merch?
Yeah, I got merch.
Amazing.
Mugs. The sticker's really good. I haven't advertised these yet, but by October I will have. So
I'm going to jump into your Patreon just to get a coffee cup.
Haven't set that up yet. So wait,
Oh.
but pretty soon. Yeah, we're just about to launch the merch and the sort of Patreon merch, whatever discount thing. So this is
Okay,
all
well,
happening,
we'll be in
very
there.
rapidly. So yeah.
We'll grab some for our fearless artists. We'll do a giveaway on our page. I love this idea of, being able to jump at the timestamp to that specific spot, because once again, it's like, we will teach you whatever you want to know, and we're going to make it so accessible. And this is the easiest way for you to do it. And I mean, I think it's a brilliant idea, the sportscaster commentary thing for classical music. And then you can keep the hype going, as you said, 2 weeks before, and then it can go across any competition. Doesn't have to just be Chopin. Like, this is a massive visibility opportunity for you and the brand and what you're doing.
Yes, I hope. I wish I could just retire after all this. No, I need to take a break, and part of this is like, really, really trying to, again, earn back or earn something of value, besides the value, the intangible value I feel and everybody enjoying my things and stuff like that, to make some money, so that I can take a little bit of time off, reset, like just take care of myself, spend time with my wife, figure out what's next in 2026, hopefully. And I don't trust the boss up here to do this well, so I'm going to need help, but really need to figure out how to do a version of what I've been doing in slightly more sustainable ways. I mean, one of the real risks when you go it alone like this, when you are entrepreneurial in any domain, everybody knows this, and business people talk about it, but especially in classical music, where you really you have to work extra hard to monetize the stuff you're doing, because it's not so naturally designed for that kind of payback. It can really strain you, and if you have obsessive creative tendencies like I do, and no limits to that, and this sense that I always need to do the extra thing because I need to optimize, and there's no natural limits, there's no clocking out. I'm always thinking, it's not just that I'm physically and mentally working all day, it's on a specific project, it's that I'm thinking about it even when I'm not working. I'm checking something on my phone that's giving me a notification about it. So I'm truly on at all times, and my body is telling me that's not healthy or sustainable. And so I need to find ways to observe, not the Sabbath, but you know what I mean? Maybe.
Yeah, rest.
I need to take time off.
Rest.
Yeah.
You need
And
time
have it
off.
not be like 2 months of time off after 16 straight months of craziness, but like maybe 1 day a week. I feel like there's a day a week we're supposed to rest. No, but you know what I mean? Like I actually need
Absolutely,
to structure
yeah.
that into my life. So I have
thank
no
you
good
for-
advice for any of your listeners about that, because I'm still figuring it out myself. It's
No, I
really hard.
appreciate you bringing that up because rest is something we talk about a lot to avoid the burnout, avoid the mental overload that you're describing. Um, is YouTube not a good monetization source then, even with the views that you're getting?
No, because I use a lot of copyrighted content and I get content ID claims. And although I dispute most of them in the name of fair use, still many of them are rejected. Many of those disputes are rejected. I don't get copyright strikes because it simply demonetizes the videos.
Okay.
But unfortunately, I think one of the appeals of my videos is that I'm commenting on real performances that other people own. And
Right.
it is what it is. I'm grateful that YouTube even has a system on the back end now to handle those copyright ID claims, because in the 2010s they didn't, and it was very dangerous for creators. But now they have a buffer and a system so that creators can create and, for the most part, only risk demonetizing individual videos. And some of them still get monetized. Some fair use appeals are accepted, and I even have found partners among some in the record industry, and I'm in contact with them, and they've permitted. I mean, Chopin has been very gracious, the Chopin Institute, in allowing me to use lots of video from their past competitions. For example, I'm in touch with representatives at basically, I mean, Universal Music. I mean, the big bad guy. No, I shouldn't say that. Lots of good people working in their various classical record labels who are just trying to sell classical music records. And actually they are more and more embracing of what I'm doing because they realize it's good for them too. Like, hey, maybe
Yes,
we
they're
should
bringing
let this
massive
guy,
audiences. Yeah.
yeah, maybe we should let this guy do this and not demonetize him even, or maybe even share revenue or whatever. There's different options because he's like literally giving us publicity about this album or whatever. So some of these are, now it's reaching the point where people are like, Decca, Deutsche Grammophon, I'm getting, messages from them, if we send you this box set, will you make a video about it? So I don't know if I'm going to be able to do these kinds of things.
Yes, I will. And here's my fee.
Yeah, exactly. Or could you ask me about some other art? Like I have to have some organic interest in the topic or the artist. It would be very hard for me to make a video and be honest if I don't have any opinions about
Clout, yeah.
or strong feelings or the kind of feelings that they would want me to have if they wanted it to be positive. So it's a tricky business because the people are, when you're trying to market something, you're not necessarily going to want to go to an opinionated independent creator to comment freely on it, unless they're going to comment freely in a positive way. But how can you be sure of that? So it's tricky, and I've been trying to figure this out too. And, it can get me into a little bit of trouble. Like I want to preserve my independence as a voice in the classical music world, but I also want to help those in the industry out who are promoting all of this great art form through existing media and existing channels. So there's some contradictions there that I'm working through, but that's just, I think, part of the challenge.
There has to be a way that you could get a cut of tickets sold because people came through your channel. Like if you had some kind of code that you could track, like tickets to the competition, either live in person or online, people paying the competition that they're watching, you can track that they came through you, so you get, a cut of that.
I think this is where I hire you, Michelle, to come up with these ideas for me. No, I'm serious. Like I sometimes have this kind of thought that you just had spontaneously, but like I'm so focused in other areas that, I started my own LLC, and I'm the most irresponsible business owner I've ever met, just because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a creator. I really need help. I need help from people who do think in those ways. And so I have a feeling that there's a lot more value I could be getting back, or, whatever, ways of monetizing the stuff that I do that I have not even occurred to me. And, my wife would be very happy if I figured out more of those ways, or more of them occurred to me. But I'm doing the best I can. But that's actually a really good idea. I haven't figured that out yet. Like, how do I? That's for after all the Chopin stuff. I can kind of settle down,
Warsaw.
reflect, be like, all right,
time off.
What have I made here? What can come next? And also, who do I want to work with? Like, what other people in my world
partner with?
Yeah, and a lot of classical musicians who are really smart, who have other skills that would lend themselves to this, that would be cool to work with. And some of their skills might be more in the sort of business side of things. I'm a conservatory grad who was, good at video editing and content creation. There's other conservatory grads who have other skills, and we should probably be uniting in more ways to also sort of combine forces and help each other out, which I think is maybe one of the missions and benefits of your work as well.
The community, yeah. And just coming back to you in high school, I mean, we've chosen a career that's very isolating. We lock ourselves in a practice room. It's a very niche thing to be interested in. So it makes sense that, we have to be alone to work. So it's very lonely, that feeling. So we love building the community to be able to find people with great ideas. I'm excited for your time in Warsaw. I'm going to be following. We'll be sharing it on all our channels and supporting you. And I just want to thank you so much for all of your thoughts and time. I have 1,000 more things to ask you, but maybe I'll have you on after the Warsaw competition to get your feedback on that.
Yeah, I feel like we didn't talk about enough things, and I just talked about myself the whole time. So
no, but I love it.
I love
it. It was so awesome.
Me.
No, it was great. And I just want to tell everybody listening, can you just tell us what's on your shirt? Because it's so cool.
It's really stupid. I don't even know. I would never wear this one on my, I wear my Chopin shirts on my
Okay, so he's got Chopin in a
episodes.
cardboard box on one side, and then on the other side, Chopin's not in the box. It says Chop out, chop out, I guess.
Chopin, Chop out.
Chopin, Chop out.
What's so dumb
love
about
it.
the pun is that it's not even pronouncing his name correctly,
Chopin.
I guess, to say,
Chop
whatever.
in, Chop out. It's
Chop
okay.
in,
It's on
Chop
brand.
out.
I love it.
That's what I love. It's really dumb. But
No, it's on brand. It's Chopin. It's funny. It's you. Your personal brand's going to blow up.
Thank you.
Just want to encourage you to keep going. I think you've hit a total gap in the market. This is super fascinating. A lot of people are going to catch the fire and go for this. I'm definitely going to be checking out your YouTube channel more and more after this and listening to these 2-hour podcast episodes. If you had an action point for everybody listening today, what would it be?
Can you define action point for me? Is that like an
They have to do
action
something. You
item
just
that
gave
comes
us
at the
so
end of
much
the meeting?
wisdom and information about how to think outside
Something
of just, we
tangible to
didn't even
do
touch about
next.
your piano career, but for everyone listening, their action point can just be to go follow the Chopin competition and watch your.
Oh, it's not like
commentary.
advice for action points for them in terms of what might be good steps in their own careers. It's something.
Yeah, but it could be super inspiring to watch you do your thing and you being
Well,
in your zone of genius. So
I don't want to make it about that because you've now listened to me for an hour talk about how you should go watch Chopin podcast. So maybe just to generalize an action item, if you have any creative instincts, and I think something that's really helped me and that I wouldn't be able to do anything without is I'm a writer. I write everything down. And so if you have a thought, even if it's half baked or 1/4 baked, or you think it might never amount to anything, but it excites you in any way. If you have ideas, creative ideas, even in their germinal phase, just write them down. Have a place where you are always interacting with yourself and in conversation with yourself. And I just have endless notes with ideas I've developed that will never see the light of day, so that a few of them can. And so my action item is write more. And if you're young, read more, because I'm not singling anybody listening out, but I've worked with a lot of younger people lately, and I don't know if I'm overgeneralizing, but I've been dismayed at the level among even very smart students at their writing levels. They're extremely poor. And especially with AI creeping in, I wonder if we're just not reading and writing anymore. So I think my action item, if it is even the right kind of thing to have for an action item, is be a writer, be your own writer, and take notes and be able to formulate your ideas, and it will take you very far because that's the foundation for expressing yourself in whatever ways you might end up doing creatively and professionally.
I think it's brilliant. Thank you so much. Everybody listening, go follow Ben LAUDE on Instagram and, of course, YouTube. Ben, we look forward to seeing you in Warsaw. And thanks for being here.
Thanks, Michelle. It was a lot of fun.
See you guys. Be fearless.
Thank you for listening to the Fearless Artist Podcast. If you found today's episode inspiring, hit that subscribe button and don't forget to share this podcast with a friend. To join our membership or one of our coaching programs, visit our website at thefearlessartistmastermind.com.
This episode was produced by Pokey Huang at phMediaStudios in New York City. We're Deanna and Michelle, encouraging you to create your own opportunities and to go after what you want. You have what it takes to build the career of your dreams. Until next time, be fearless.